You might want to write down a sentence. My first task is not to understand, but to see that I can't understand. My first task is not to understand, but to see that I can't understand. Isn't that both a revelation and a relief? Look what we've been doing all our life, connected with this loneliness, for example, that we're talking about. My first task is not to understand, but to see that I can't understand. Look what we've all been doing, trying to understand life when we can't do it. You come to this class and I tell you you must understand these truths in order to change the kind of a person you are, in order to change your level of happiness and so on. And you say, how do I do it? The way to understand is to see that you can't understand. Who's going to understand? That Chuck or Joan or Stella or Larry, who has never been able to understand anything outside of how to perform your profession or cook a dinner or drive a car, that Joan and Chuck can do. Anybody can do that because anybody has an ordinary mechanical memory by which they can learn the functions of driving a car. But there's no way, give your own name in the blank space ahead, there's no way that you, can understand life, can understand how to stop being afraid. All I know how to do is to be scared, to tremble, to try to work off the energy of fear by talking all the time, mentally or verbally, by getting furious, by blowing up. Fear comes back the next minute, doesn't it? It doesn't go away. You can't chase it away. This is the only thing I know what to do. Sally, stay back there for a longer period, please. Do it anyway. This is the only thing I know how to do, is to get more confused than I was before. To chase in circles with a very strange, odd little hope that somehow I can think my way out of the circle and then be non-afraid, be non-lonely, be non-aggressive, be non-hostile, be non-hurtful toward other people. I think that I can think my way out of it. See, the trouble is when I give these talks, you're not impressed. When I say something, you don't get a feeling of understanding which would give you great relief. I just took 10 bricks off your back, and I wonder if one of you saw it. I said, you don't have to work hard at trying to think your way out, trying to get rid of loneliness with thought, trying to understand. What I said is you to see fully, thoroughly, that the tool that you are now working with can never deliver comprehension, can never set you free, can never give you an authenticity above your present artificial life. Aren't you relieved? Now you can give up, can't you? Now you can give up trying to do something that you can't do. What a relief. No, not quite, I'm afraid. If I give up trying to rescue myself, then I can't take credit for it, can I? I can't write a book or give talks or just talk with friends and tell them how my religion has saved me, how reading that book has changed my life overnight. I can't brag. I can't be the center of my salvation. I, in my confusion, want to do something and then say, I did it. I did it all myself. See what a marvelous human being I am. And I write all kind of books about it and give all kind of talks. Or I sit back subtly modest and tell you how I've changed things, how I've found the answers. But my heart still aches. And I blow up. And I'm furious. I just said, you don't have to try anymore. Regardless of the consequences, you don't have to try anymore to try to save yourself. Because when you really understand that there's no one there for you to work on at all, these are only thoughts chasing each other. I said there's no one there to work on at all, but only thoughts chasing each other. When you see that thoroughly, clearly, then there's a giving up. Do you know what salvation is? Do you know what freedom is? I'm not trying to get it. Not trying to find it. Not being desperate toward the answers. Maybe I'd better tell you, in case you didn't know, that this is indeed a long and fearful path. But look, I said it was a long and fearful task. How's that any different than your life right now? No difference, is it? Your life right now is a long and fearful task. It always has been. You're so loaded with guilt over what you did to other people, and therefore what you did to yourself. Wasn't that difficult? Not living up to what other people expected of you, wasn't that a pain? Being afraid of what other people can do, what circumstances can do to you, wasn't that a dreadful agony? Being afraid of losing someone important to you or something important to you, isn't that horrible? Isn't that a long and difficult path? You're not entering anything new when you explore yourself inwardly. What you are doing is exploring yourself with a flashlight. Instead of with a flashlight with no batteries in it, as you've been doing it up till now. So that the light begins to shine on what's going on inside of you, and you begin to understand all that we're going into, for example, tonight. Yes, we'll be distracted, but let's see if we can stop it. Take two men going out into the wilderness where there's no homes, no cabins. And both men decide to build a home, a cabin for themselves, way out in the wilderness. So they both take their axes and chop down trees and put the right notches in the end of them and get the moss or whatever they do to put in the cracks of the cabin. And they both work furiously at it, but something goes wrong. This is a good exercise, you know. The exercise is over.
You want it back?
Something goes wrong as each of these two men are building their cabins. The logs fall off and the roof leaks and the wind blows through the windows. And suddenly they both realize something. they realize that they don't understand how to build a log cabin. They dimly realize, at least, they don't know how to build a log cabin. But one of them is a man of great vanity, great pride. He holds his shoulders back, he's big and strong, and he can conquer the world. So he doesn't listen to that little dim voice that says, man, you don't know how to build a log cabin. So he continues to build and build and build, and it's backwards and upside down, and the thing's a mess. But he finally moves into it. The other man, who had a little more honesty, a little more sincerity, realized that the way he was going at it wasn't going to give him a decent log cabin at all. So he jumps on his horse and rides to town and gets a book called How to Build a Log Cabin, and he talks to people on building a log cabin. He jumps on his horse and comes back out again. Now he has all the instructions, he has the information, and he starts intelligently. He puts light in his mind for building the cabin. So his cabin is finished and the other man's is finished, and they both move in and live there. And the man who refused to listen to the warning that he wasn't doing it right, he's got a pretty miserable life there, hasn't he? He gets rained on, it's damp, it gets too hot, and it's just generally miserable. Who's responsible? Don't you take this as an elementary lesson or an elementary illustration. Don't let it pass over your head. Because I know that there are parts in all of us that will nod your head very lovely to the fact, the statement, that we're responsible for the living conditions we find ourselves in, and you go right out that door and repeat them. Don't tell me, you head nodders, that you understand. You understood the story. Anybody can do that. Because he wanted to live his own way. He insisted on it. He is reaping what he sowed, isn't he? And unless he gets on his horse and rides over to town and gets instructions and rushes on back and tears the old one down and builds on the new one, unless he does that, he's going to continue to live the way he's always lived, tension, etc. The other man, because he did start with a little honesty, now has his reward. I wonder if you've ever given any thought to the fact that there are higher rewards than the kind you are presently getting. You see, for one thing, remember we talked earlier about the agitation of trying to repeat thrills over and over and over, and putting all kind of strain and effort in it? Do you understand? If you don't, I'll tell you. Do you understand that there is such a thing, whether you know it or not, there is such a thing as eternal rewards? Do you know that these eternal rewards don't take any work on your part at all? They take a certain preliminary honesty where you can begin to say, if I consciously, deliberately let that old misshapen log cabin be destroyed, if I permit it to fall down, then this new intelligence will build a proper one in its place. And when I'm in it, to keep the illustration, you understand this is just an illustration, when I move into it, because it was built by a higher intelligence than the man next door, the rewards are effortless. I am paid for being in a new place. I am paid for being in a new place. The new place is the reward, the solidity of the logs, the pretty view out the window. Question, ladies? Question, gentlemen? What is your psychological location? What's it been today out there in that world? Have you suffered today? Yes, you suffered, all of you. You were in pain. And you never had such a good time in your life. This is how sick human beings are, where their chief pleasure is to inflict pain on someone else or to themselves. And the someone else can be the wife, the husband, the daughter, the son, the mother, the father, the stranger, or if you run out of people to be cruel to, just turn it inwardly. That will do. You get the same thrill out of being unkind to another person or to yourself. So, don't work at trying to understand, but work to see that you don't understand. And when you get to that state, when you see that you don't understand, don't do anything about that. Is that clear to you? No? Huh? You still want to do something about your lack of understanding? The question, who's going to do something? Where's it going to come from? Huh? You think it's an easy, simple task, you sitting here and absorbing this information, you think it's going to be so easy to go out and refuse to work in the way you've usually worked? I'll give you a clue. You listen. From now on, you will not give the sick world, either in you or out of you, the reaction it wants. I said, effective as of tonight and for the rest of your life, you will not give the sick world inside you or outside you the response, the reaction, the reply that it is expecting of you. And you know that it expects it of you because you've always conformed to its expectations. You've always fawned before people. You've always conned them. You've always bought them off. You've always apologized, and the apology was a lie too. But you try to live up to what other people expect of you so that they'll think you're nice, so that they'll accept you, and your terror is temporarily put to sleep. Temporarily put to sleep. Let's see. Now, what does that mean? I'm not going to react in the same way that I usually react. But to do that, I have to be quite aware every minute, every second of how I am reacting and catch it right in the middle. Am I not? So am I not going to have to do more than merely repeat the formula? That I'm not going to react to the world, outside or inside, the way I generally react. That means I'm going to have to be wide awake at all times, especially among other things, to see that I'm going, get this please, I'm going to have to see how I disappoint my own neurosis. My neurosis, which is mechanicalness, will scream at me, urge me, plead with me to always fawn, to always be apologetic, to always be passive. The mechanical force inside of me will threaten me with doom unless I do what I always do. Like, for example, glare at somebody. Have you glared at anyone this week? Anyone? Oh, you didn't know you did. You didn't know you did. You're about to glare at someone. Now, why do you glare in the first place? Because you feel threatened by them? And that glare is telling them that you're strong, and your glare is telling them that you're weak. Do you know how to send the right message to them? Ignore them. Be so really strong that you're not tensely looking at their face to see what their expression is when looking at your face. What do you care? What do you care how sick that man is, that woman is? Well, the reason you care is because you want to be sure they're not going to hurt you in some way. Or who knows, maybe the facial expression will suddenly change to a smile and you'll get a relief. You think of what I said in the last few minutes and try to rephrase it in your own words. I am no longer going to go along with the inner tradition. As I begin to consciously, rightly rebel against being left out, for example, I think we hit home then. Being left out, being cheated. Others have more, they're happier, younger, richer. The next time I catch that, I'm going to realize that I am foolishly, unnecessarily living in time thinking, which always feels cheated, which always feels left out, which always feels lonely, which always feels threatened, which always feels guilty. And then I'm going to recognize as best I can, and it's going to take time to work on it, to see that there is no permanent attachment there. My real nature never did. My authentic nature, my cosmic nature, my mature spiritual being, call it what you want, never ever had any connection at all with glaring at that person who seemed to threaten me. My real nature had no connection with being afraid, no connection with feeling bad, no connection with regrets over that foolish thing I did 6 months ago or 6 years ago. You begin to realize this, you begin to understand what it means to come to an end to egotism. But only if you will do this will you understand what it means to come to an end of egotism. Getting authentic knowledge of the inner tyrant begins to give something in you that is not part of the tyrant the strength to toss him out. This is the effortless strength we talked about. This is where you sit back. Listen to how beautiful this is. Listen. This is where you sit back or go forward through your day. You go out and you meet people, and you meet contacts, and shut it off a minute, please. Shut it off. You go out into the world free of the need to make compulsive reactions. Because there's no little sick person there anymore. It is this sick man, this sick woman inside that has always had 1,000 answers, 1,000 reactions ready to pull out of the grab bag for the proper occasion. Which, to put it as simply as I can think to put it right now, is a pretty dreadful, terrible way to live. You see, you are foolish, you are dumb, you are gullible, you are deceived. The challenge comes up from the world out there, and you are so convinced that you have to respond the way it expects you to, or your sickness expects you to, that you're gone right now. Let's say about 60 times a minute, you're gone. I am telling you that with this clear cosmic comprehension, what is now the new you goes down to the factory and works, stays home and takes care of the children and the laundry, drives the car out on the highway, works out in the farm, that can go out there free of the world, free of that world out there, because it's freed of the world in here. All this that you're hearing tonight, please, I'm telling you, and I'm telling you the truth, that it's a mystery, a difficulty, a frustration, only to the egotism, the vanity that wants to save itself, which can never, never, never be done. It is not a mystery. It's not a frustration. It's not a problem to the part of you that can begin to come alive at the expense of the false part. Do you know what you've got tonight? The whole answer. You now know that you can begin to watch your answers to the world. You're fired. I don't love you anymore. You're a bum and you always have been. You're guilty. You're a sinner. You're terrible. You're no good. You dumbheads have been answering the world, therefore perpetuating the illusion that the lie was real. You now know that you can begin to work on yourself so that when the challenge comes, the accusation comes, the slander comes, the loneliness comes, you sit back and don't answer it all because you see that there's no need to. There's no need to because there's no one here to be defended. There's no one here to make a contrary remark. If someone says, you're lonely, aren't you? And you lie about it. Oh, I'm not lonely. I've got lots of friends. The very lie is your false answer which keeps you lonely. Why do you react to a word like that? You react to the word loneliness, because you only have an intellect up to this point of your existence as a human being here on earth. All you have is an intellect, and even it is pretty faulty. I'll tell you that you can have more than a mind. You can have a spirit, which includes the mind, which includes the body for now here on earth. You can have a spirit that includes eternity. And I will guarantee you that that new spirit, that higher spirit, which is not a religious phrase, but something you can experience, that this new spirit never answers the world out there, because it has stopped answering the world in here. There is no conversation going on anymore. There's no chatter. There's no neurosis. There's no argument. What there is in its place is a very, very clear understanding of everything we've talked about. This understanding can be yours if you'll start with the fact that you don't understand and can't understand the way you're now going at it. The way you're now going at it, you will never understand everything we've talked about. And the reason you don't understand is because you want to be the hero of the show. You want to be a suffering, phony hero the rest of your life? Or do you want to change things? Now, please, this is a very long leap, and then we'll stop and have a break. You want to rescue yourself. And even your slams at other people, your cruelties and your viciousness have been an attempt to save yourself. You see, this has been an attempt to make you feel good. And on your present level of lack of comprehension, you think that feeling good, quote marks, over hurting someone else is good for you. It's not good for you. It's good for perpetuating your sickness, which you call good because it's all you've ever known. You've never had anything but sickness, and that's your good. If you lost that, you see, I'd lose my good, I'd lose my life. You call your sickness your life, therefore you're afraid of losing that. You're afraid of death. This is a lie that you have accepted as a truth. And as you begin to see through this, then you can begin to see these other things we've talked about, including the fact that the end of being a hero to yourself or to another person will put you into eternity. As long as the word is there, the word hero, I have saved myself, you will never rise above time and rise above your own self-torment. The word hero must go. Then you can't apply it to that military genius out there that you admire. You can't attach the word hero to your politician on your political party. You can't attach it to that religious man. And you can't attach it to yourself. You see, this non-response to the challenges of the world that we're talking about means a non-verbal response, a non-mental response. So, and we've come into a circle to what we talked about earlier at the very start. When there is complete silence, no answer because we've now understood that there's no need to answer. When there is silence, that is deliverance. And it is without thought, without anxiety. It is a state that is just there. And that state is in eternity. And you, without being you anymore, are in eternity. And what I just said, there will be something in you that understands, but Joe or Sarah or Stella or Joan cannot understand, but something that is not these words, these names can understand. And this is what we're heading for, and this is what we can achieve. Take a 10-minute break. Crumbs and bums and scums can't be original. They always tell the same malicious lies. There isn't an ounce of originality in the lies that devils, lost people, the crumbs of the earth tell when they attack the truth. Now, it's been some time, I'd say 6 months, something like that, since we've simply reminded ourselves of the old familiar lies that everybody always tells when they come here for a few times or once and then go away. And if any of you crumbs in this room, which you are, ever leave this class, this group, then you will go away with one or more of some of the lies that I'm going to ask you to volunteer to say. You remember we did that once, Jim, and I think you started it. If any of you bums in this room, and you're all bums, ever leave, you will either outwardly or inwardly or both say to yourself or to other people the lying reason why you didn't come back, and which we'll have in a minute. I'll ask for volunteers. I think you know what I'm getting at, those of you who've been interested, don't you? But every reason you give will prove is the perfect evidence of the criminal that you are and always have been. Now, fortunately for your sanity, what you're going to hear, some of you, won't hurt you too much, because you have a big wall in your mind that prevents you from seeing even the most elementary of facts, which you're going to hear in a minute. So you're safe. You can walk out of here and not come back and go back to the bat cave you flew out of to come to this meeting tonight. So that the purpose really is to remind those of you who have an ounce of decency of the lies you may still be telling to yourself in a small way, because remember, they're still very active in people for a long, long time. And some of you have chosen to come back to these classes and to continue to absorb these truths. But I simply want you to continue to be aware of how the devil can be very strong inside of you. Don't you remember people who've come here for a long while, 6 months, for a year, and you thought they'd always stay, huh? This shows how dumb you are. This shows how gullible you are. You think that people who come here are nice. They're not nice. They're criminals. Every once in a while, we may get someone who comes here who is only 99 9/10% a criminal. That man or that woman has a chance. The rest of you bums don't. Okay, I think you've got the idea. Volunteer, what do people say when they leave? One.
You sure got a big ego to turn around and say that this is the only place where a man can get to the truth.
Yeah. Jean.
Yeah, the one gal that told me today that she's not coming back after a number of weeks said, after bringing a friend with her, who I'm sure solidified her feelings that you're, number one, too negative, that no one here cares, and because during the class, a group member said, well, I've been coming 5 years and I've never changed. She brought this up.
Yes.
And leaped on that as an excuse, but I know that it's her devil doing it.
Yes, she leaped onto that. She just loved to hear that as her excuse. Gordon, please.
I already heard that before.
I've heard it before.
One told me that you were not a loving man.
Oh, a what?
That you were not a loving man, that you were a hateful person.
Oh, a hateful man, yes. Yes.
Who do you think? He's God?
Yes. Someone said that to you literally, didn't they?
He's trying to take away the ego I need to survive in this world.
Yeah. Frank?
He charges too much money for classes.
He told me I was insane, and I'm perfectly sane.
Yes, that was fairly recent. Phyllis, please.
What is he doing? Why is he constantly beating at us?
Yes. Why can't he be kind?
Too many dumb rules. We can't even carry books into class.
Lorraine, please.
Classic was, I'd love to go to Vernon's, but I'm sitting on the veranda sipping a glass of wine, and I just don't think I'll go tonight.
Murray.
I'm above all that.
That's a good one. There are a lot more. Keep going for a while.
Okay, they always add, but I'm going to study the books and work on myself.
That's good. Study the books at home.
That class is for people who have problems.
All right. I think we're running down. Go ahead, Ron.
Well, you get the same thing in church. Why go to that?
Get the same thing in church. Any last minutes? Go ahead, Alicia.
I wrote a book on them, and they told me, says, we don't need to go there, come on, let's listen to the tapes.
Oh, listen to the tapes, did you say? Yes. No. All right. Let me read a couple things to you. You may want to write them down. I'm going to poke myself in the eye. This connects very much to what we're talking about tonight. Everything creates a crisis in a hollow head. Everything creates a crisis in a hollow head. Let's see the hands of the hollow heads. Isn't that true? You go through your day and you meet this or that, and you get tongue-tied, you stutter, you can't even speak clearly because the man looked at you this way or that way, and that's a crisis for you. That is evidence that you are a hollow head. Everything creates a crisis for a hollow head. As a matter of fact, do you ever think of the fact that we're a walking crisis, just going looking for something to happen, and it does. It will. Even if you're all alone, you're nagging at yourself all day long. We don't have much mercy on ourselves, do we? You want other people to have mercy on you. Look how you treat yourself all day long. You want other people to be kind, and yet you scream at yourself all day long. That's kind of a contradiction, isn't it? This one is a little longer and very solid. I'll read it twice very slowly. The first time, please just listen. Don't try to write down the first time, or you may miss the meaning. Thinking that the truth wants to hurt me is simply one part of my general confusion. I fail to see that I am not really thinking about truth anyway, but I'm thinking of everyone and everything that has ever hurt me in the past. Once more, and I'll leave this here. If you want it after the meeting, you can get it. Thinking that the truth wants to hurt me is simply one part of my general confusion. I fail to see that I am not really thinking about truth anyway, but I'm thinking of everyone and everything that has ever hurt me in the past. Now I'll ask you a question. How can you think that truth is out to hurt you when you don't even know what truth is? How do you figure that? Truth is going to hurt me and you don't even know what truth is. See, the truth can't hurt anyone. It can only bless. And I'll never use that word again. It's too religious. It can only help us. Then if I think I'm going to get hurt, then I must be thinking about a false situation which is in me and out there too, and I've taken this falseness as truth. As I begin to surrender the false part, the absence then, the disintegration of the false part, leaves the empty space, which is invaded by the truth, and then that truth, even in a small way, can understand how foolish I was before thinking that truth could hurt me. Now I understand there's something that is the truth that is understanding, which sees that it knows that it itself is always good, always pure. So it was my lies that I loved more than the truth that were hurting me, but I said in my confusion, the truth is trying to hurt me. It was the lies by which I am living that is hurting me, but I called that the truth. Okay? We are now on for 35 minutes of open discussion and changing the tape. Okay, fine. All right. Go ahead, Phyllis.
Vernon, does one ever reach a point where out in the world the responses cannot come anymore the way we habitually respond?
Say that again. I had to cough. I'm sorry.
Does one ever reach a point in the work where we cannot respond to the outer world the way we usually respond?
Well, that's what my 30-minute talk was all about, Phyllis. Yes.
I understand that. No, my point is...
Is it possible?
Is it possible that all of a sudden sudden the mechanics don't take over, even though we don't even realize it.
It happens all of a sudden, one step at a time, most certainly. It doesn't happen in 6 months, though. Because you don't even know that you're glaring defensively at that person. You don't know it. You are the glare. When you are the glare, you don't know it. As you're glaring, step outside of yourself, look back, and see yourself glaring. And then feel rightly sorry that you're hurting yourself and the person you're glaring at. You're much too gullible. You still believe in yourself. And that false belief in yourself extends itself out to the world. This is why you get hurt by other people. You still want to believe in your own decency, of which you have none. You have none of your own. Only truth has decency. God has decency. You want to believe in your own decency, which is very indecent. But then it projects itself out because your own false decency, wanting to be protected and loved, wants to believe that that new man, that new woman is going to be nice. They're not nice. You're going to get it. It's just a question of time because you're gullible. You asked for it. You asked for it by refusing to see your own wrongness. Therefore, you're going to attract someone who's just as wrong as you are. This is the law of cause and effect. And the day will come when you can rise above that. Tell you a little story about that. Once there was a little bunny rabbit. This is a bunny rabbit story. And his name was Bouncy Bunny. That was his name. Bouncy Bunny. So, well, they bounce, don't they? So, Papa Bunny comes and said, "Little Bouncy Bunny, the time for you to go out into the big world and learn on your own and grow on your own." So little Bouncy Bunny put a knapsack on his back, and stick, and went out into the world. And at first he was so delighted to be free of the rules of his father, whom he resented a good deal, of course. He was so happy. He thought it was such a marvelous world out there. So he bounced bunny-like happily around the meadows for a while. And one time he stopped to just rest a little bit. He looked off in the distance, and he saw a painter out there. A painter with the canvas on the easel there, and the back was to the little Bouncy Bunny, so he couldn't see who he was. But he looked at it and he found it interesting. Painting, he'd never known about that before, so he said, "Hey, I'll go over and see what's going on there." So little Bouncy Bunny bounced on over and looked into what the man was doing, and whoever it was doing that. And just as he got real close, all of a sudden, whoever was sitting there painting turned around and jumped on him, claws and fangs, chased little Bunny out of the meadow, scared him. He barely escaped with his life. Boy, he did a double take out there in the woods, wondering what on earth had happened to him. So, courage came back a little bit, so he got a little bit bouncier and went out again, wandered around. And he saw another painter over there. Well, wasn't too badly scared. His conditioning hadn't hardened yet, only one incident. So hey, what's the man painting over there? I'll get up there and see. So he got a little closer and a little closer, and when he got within a few yards, same thing again, and chased him off. It's confusing. He didn't, when he was safe in Papa and Mama's home, this kind of a world didn't exist to him. He began to get mad. He began to get confused, get discouraged by it. So this happened several more times. He'd go up to the painting, and the painter there, and as he turned around to get close, the painter turned and growled at him and chased him in the wood. And one time he got hurt so bad that he decided, boy, I better quit smiling so much about what a wonderful world this is and try to figure it out. And as he was sitting there, licking his wounds, munching a carrot for lunch, a thought came to him. He remembered something that had happened that he had forgotten all about. And what he had forgotten, that when he had left home, his father had given him a little poem. And he'd put the poem in poetry. Who cares about poetry? I want to go out and conquer the world. So he put the little poem in his little furry pocket and forgot all about it. But his father had told him that this poem that I'm going to give you is very brief, but it will save you from being victimized out in that world. But he had forgotten it. He didn't believe that his father knew as much as he did, see? But here, after being mauled all these times, he finally, something remembered, the little guidance that his father had given him. So he reached into the pocket, and he pulled out, and he looked at the note, and he was astonished at the wisdom that this little note poem had. And he knew that if he'd paid attention to it when he'd first left his father's home, as his father had asked him to do, he wouldn't have get into all this trouble. It made everything clear. And the little poem said, "Look out for the weasel behind the easel." Then that was a weasel behind that easel. I thought it was a nice little friendly bunny, maybe a girl bunny or something. Then there are rabbits in this world, and there are weasels in this world. But how can I tell when they always keep their back to you? They're very clever. Maybe they're rabbit painters as well as weasel painters. But how can I tell? So he thought about it for a long time and saw lots of painters out there, but now he's afraid to go close. I wonder if there's a way I could figure out how to tell a weasel from a rabbit so I can be safe and go up and talk to my own kind, to other rabbits. And he just searched the world for wise rabbits. They didn't know the answer. Nobody knew the answer. So he decided he'd have to go on his own to find out the difference so he'd be safe in the world. He finally found the answer, and it was a very strange experience for him, but a very helpful one. He crept up in back of the weasel behind the easel. The easel behind the weasel? No, the weasel behind the easel. And he looked at the painting that the weasel was painting. And he saw it all at once. He saw that the weasel only produced weasel-like paintings. That is, it was paintings of horror scenes, of pouncing weasels and subdued rabbits. It was a war scene, so to speak. So he knew if he could watch the result of the weasel's work, just look at that while he was still back there, he could tell whether it was a weasel or not if he studied the characteristics on that painting. Likewise, if he saw another painter and crept up in back of him and he saw just pretty scenes, nice things, decent scenes on the canvas, he knew that was painted by a rabbit. So it was very simple. His new knowledge, his new insight, protected him from the weasel and put him in touch with people with rabbits who was like he was. So after this, you understand this didn't happen overnight either. It didn't happen in 1 year or 2 years. He had to learn the hard way. But wanting knowledge more than he wanted the pleasure of being attacked, which he did at first because he even loved his resentment of being attacked, because he loved knowledge more than he loved his resentment, he learned the difference and bounced through life forever after. And you were on for comments or questions. Or silence. Yes, please, Linda.
Can we stop the cause and effect, not overnight, but at least eliminate some of it by working on the principles of you're doing?
Yes, it will gradually fade out as the dominating force in your life. It's now the dominating force. It will then become the passive force, and then it will disappear altogether. Not on this level, not in the physical body. If you throw a ball against that wall, it'll bounce because you're on the physical level.
Vernon, your story just brought up some thoughts. As we begin to strip away the personality, the false personality, we begin to see ourselves as we really are. Not that sweet, nice, beautiful woman, but actually that coarse, cold, and disbehaved woman.
That's right.
And that is quite frightening.
Pardon?
There is a fear with seeing it.
Yes.
Because it's so new and I don't know what to do with it.
Well, let me tell you what, man. Don't mind being a bum. Now, you have to follow, because this is just a statement. Don't mind being a bum. You see, you now mind it. And so you try to do something about it, and you remain a bum. What I mean is, if you could look at your inner state, Dauphine, look at it clearly without you interfering with it. You understand? If you could see it there, you wouldn't continue it. But now, look, I'm such a horrible human being. I'm cruel. I'm vicious. See, you are seeing that in you, but you are minding it. And now, what can I do about it? I'll read a book, or I'll pray, or I'll try to be nice after this. You're going to flop as a nice person. Don't mind it. That means you're seeing it without the eye. That will put an end to it instead of perpetuating it. You can learn to be indifferent to all the harmful negative forces that are trying to, in fact, succeed, invade us, and then live inside of us in their name. You're taking their word for it. That fury, for example, I've been furious this week. Yeah. You're taking the word of your fury that it's in its right place and is a necessity inside of you. And it will lie to you and say that if you kick me out, something bad will happen to you. You're going to have to call that bluff. You're not now. You're listening to the lie of the fury and loneliness in you that lies, if you put me out by understanding everything, understanding my powerlessness, among other things, if you put me out, what will become of you? Why don't you find out what will become of you? What will become of you is that you will no longer be tyrannized by loneliness and fury. But you have to do it. Why don't you dare more than you do? Did I see your hand, Linda? Yes, please.
In observing states in myself, they sometimes last a long, long time, and you just keep observing them and watching them, they will soon get less and less time.
Yes. That's an elementary principle, but a very good one, and a good one for you to practice all day long. Now, don't you worry over results, none of you. Question: is worry over anything a harmful or good state? Of course. Worry over anything is always wrong. But again, your worry fills up the space. If I can't understand, then I can worry over my lack of understanding, and that becomes a substitute. That's like substituting a block of wood for a loaf of bread. And that's why we're hungry. Let's go on this, huh? No? No? Go ahead, Stella.
This is just a comment, but spending the day with Stella is horrifying to see what a waste of life there is.
Yes, right. That's good to see it as a waste. It is indeed. No hurry, for hands. No hurry at all. No hurry for anything. It's this compulsive hurry of ours that keeps us repeating our negative states. And the hurry itself threatens you. If you slow down, what will become of you? Challenge that false assumption. Dorothy.
When the wrong part gets angry or worried, where is the right part and what is it doing during that time?
Well, do you have it?
I don't know.
Find out. You can be in and I'll have to use simple words, you can be in a right state at any given moment, or you can be in a wrong state. Which is it? Which is it? If you're in a wrong state, then where's the right? It's absent. If you're in a right state, where's the wrong state? It's absent. Why do you complicate it? Which do you want at the moment? You're going to, just a minute please. You're going to have to advance forward with tears in your eyes, with fear, not knowing where you're going. Please don't know where you're going. If you know where you're going, you're going to end up right in the swamp again. You are safe. You are safe if you go forward, not knowing where you're going, but with the wish to understand. Don't you see? How can I talk to atheists and get them to understand anything, which you are? You're atheist. You believe in yourself. And that's a nothing. That's what you believe in. You believe in your name. You believe in your experiences. You believe in your sorrow. You're atheist. You're worshiping your sorrow. That's what atheists do. And they worship a word. They worship the word God. When you worship the word God, you're not worshiping God. You're worshiping the kind of God you were told is God. How can I tell you then that if you will follow these principles that God will help you? But you don't know who God is yet. So what I'm trying to tell you is that if you get rid of your idols so that there's none left, then you will know who God is. And who God is at the beginning of understanding is not your idols. Not your self-defense, for example. Not defending your lostness. I said one of your idols is defending your lostness. You're all lost. Every one of you in this room is lost. No exceptions. You're lost. You are defending that state. This is what you worship. And you mealy-mouthed hypocrites, and maybe some of you listening to this tape too, call yourself Christians. Call yourself religious people. Call yourself good. Call yourself spiritual. You're a mealy-mouthed hypocrite. And you are paying the price right now, for being a liar. It is not necessary to worship your suffering. It is not necessary to worship your traditional ideas. Now, the reason it's not necessary is because something higher than your conditioning exists. And that something that is higher than you is called God, which will be revealed to you as you give up your idol worship, which is the same of your unconscious and self-centered ego worship. You are pathetic only because you want to be pathetic. Only because you worship being pathetic and find false value in it. And you value the distraction it has so that you don't have to force the fact that you're pathetic. You don't want to face it squarely. You want to face it with feeling sorry for yourself. Anybody can be pathetic. You're not unique. You're one of the mob. You think you're unique. You think your sorrow makes you unique. That shows how dumb you are. You're one of the herd. One of the common herd when you suffer, when you cry. You think it gives you a unique separate world when you bawl over what's happening to you? When you bawl, you're one grain of sand on the seashore. How's that for a blast at your blasted vanity? A unique human being is one who knows that there is a uniqueness that is not of human personality. God, therefore, is the only power that's unique. And there is only one uniqueness with a capital U. If you are unique, and you are, and I am, we are divided and therefore liars. And uniqueness, false uniqueness, always thinks it can help others, that it has helped others, that it has value. There's no hope for most human beings. Just take that as a fact. For every rabbit out in the field there are a million weasels. This is a world of weasels. This is a world of weasels, and when they come into this room, they reveal it. You can see what they paint. I can see what they paint. By the facial expression, by the words, by the lack of words sometimes. And by the fact that weasels don't come back to further meetings. Because we ought to put a sign up in front of the door, no weasels allowed. We have 7 or 8 minutes more. Do you know that a weasel doesn't know he's a weasel? Do you know that? Do you understand that? All right, then we don't have to go into that. A weasel does not know he or she is a weasel because he has a label on the front. I am an innocent, harmless, pleasant little bunny. There's a difference in the facial expression of a bunny and a weasel. Always try to catch a weasel off guard. You'll see through them fast enough. For example, right now in this room, you are all on guard. I'm not fooled by any of you weasels. And that, by the way, can be the salvation of you if you want to stop being a weasel. As it gets tougher, it gets righter. As it gets tougher, it gets righter. Isn't that nice?
The more this weasel looks at his painting, the worse it looks.
Say that again, Frank.
The more this weasel looks at his painting, the worse it looks.
Yeah, we understand.
You could say, as it gets darker, it gets brighter.
Pardon?
We could say, as it gets darker, it gets brighter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It must get darker in order for it to turn bright. So what do we care how dark it gets? Truth doesn't care. Do you know why truth doesn't care how dark it gets? Because there's no relationship. See? What relationship does the sunny, bright day have with the depths of the bat cave where it's pure blackness? There's no relationship. That bright day, it's a figure of speech, of course, doesn't think about the dark bat cave. It doesn't know anything about it. It's not part of it. It can understand it within sense without being a part of it. Write down a sentence and make that clearer, please. Only darkness fears darkness. Only darkness fears darkness. If I'm afraid that I'm not going to understand these principles, is that fear a part of darkness or part of light? Well, we're in a new place, so we'll go faster, huh? We'll sort of use this as a physical expression of an inner determination to go faster, go harder, plunge ahead recklessly. You think you've got something to lose? Just you wait. I promise you everything good. That's a solemn promise, a right promise, a promise that will be kept. Everything good for you. You'll see. If you're not in these classes, though, you can't get the goodness. If you're not working on yourself, if you don't have the books and tapes working on yourself, you can't have the goodness. It is given only to volunteers who ask for it. By coming here, you're volunteering to give up everything that's wrong and accepting everything that's good. And it will be given to you. You do your part, truth will do its part. It won't fail you. It can't fail you. There's no way. Even if you don't understand what I said, everything good will come to every one of you. You think, go ahead, think deliberately about yourself, your life now. And I will tell you, this is a promise, this is the truth, that everything good will start to come to you as you're in this class. Continue to come. Never mind being confused. I am not confused. I understand, and I understand what you're going through. I know exactly what every one of you are going through. Exactly. And I know that there is an answer, a right answer, a higher answer to that confusion. So you see, there is an answer with a capital A above your present thousands of answers with a small a, which the intellect is always trying to grab at, and it changes every minute, doesn't it? There is an answer above all that confusion, and we're getting it here. All right, Jim.
You know what we're going through, but we don't know what you're going through.
Good night.
Good night.